So the Tandem Residencies brought your practices together in a way that possibly led to the creation of both conjunctions and divergences. Could you take us through what your initial inquiries were when the residency started, and what might some of the inclinations that you found yourself starting with be?
So I think that I was definitely thinking about more than human sort of life forms, and how we can call upon them to bear witness to histories that have been erased by the state. So I think that I was going into the field with wanting to learn more about plants and how plants have been invoked in particular sort of or how plants are invoked in particular traditions, or how they're mobilized to do particular sort of things, or how they perform in particular sort of settings. So I was curious about plants, and I was also thinking about the spirit world, and how notions of hauntings can also make visible like a different kind of temporal rhythm that has been sort of negated and erased by violent nation states.
So my work, of course, like it talks about displacement, and also it's about migration which happened within the country, and also it's not not only about a minority that was kind of, let's say, looked down upon, or it's not about a particular race or whatever. So it's about inland migration, which kind of happened in the 17th century with the Portuguese innovation of the country, and also so how people were kind of their own people were treated. So that was the initial idea. So myself and Omer, we kind of we've been working together, sharing ideas and whatever the knowledge we had. So also kind of it definitely it evolved with our experiences we had going through the country, like from north to the south, and also meeting people and sharing our ideas. Kind of it also sort of the work, in the sense the work evolved after that. So I was able to take it to another context. I mean, a broader context.
Yeah, and I think that being with Thisath, or being paired up for the residency, was really, really wonderful, because I think that I mean, I always say that the histories that I was kind of working with or calling upon were not exactly were not my own, and so I think that having Thisath around really made accessible the histories that I was becoming privy to, or the histories that were being shared with me. So yeah, so I mean, I think that I think that it was extremely rewarding, and it was a way to learn, or it was a learning process, that we were coming into information, or coming into ideas, or also kind of bringing in sort of the stuff that we had previously worked upon into our conversations. And I think that so much of I'm pretty much convinced that the world is coming to a close soon, or coming to an end soon, because of climate catastrophe that's upon us, right? And I think that I think that I also often ask myself about what it is that what it is that we need to do together at the end of the world, right? And I think that, yes, I mean, we can make work, we can do X, Y, Z things, but I think that it is about coming together to sort of to make connections, to build a future, and I'm really invested, and I think that we're both super invested in fostering care, in fostering connections, community care. And I think that so much of the work that we made sort of is informed by by that.
On that note, actually, I'm curious about the nature of collaboration that unfolded during the residency, and you touched upon it right now. And I'd like to extend here that there seems to be a sense of symbiosis emerging with your practices. So, could you share what it meant for you to work alongside, and how did your individual processes of thinking on site unfold in conversation?
I think that so much of making art is about sort of not getting it right the first time, and so I think that there's a constant sort of back and forth that happens. And I think that we were able to troubleshoot a lot of the things as they were emerging, or troubleshoot ideas as they were emerging. Um, um, I mean, coincidentally, we were both at Rio for the actual exhibition. So we were installing on different floors, but also kind of installing our main final projects in the same building together, you know. So I mean, I sort of come down and ask Thisath for quick feedback, you know. So I think that again, I think that ideas of care, community, are really central. I mean, I don't know if that answers your question though. Thisath, I don't know.
Yeah, of course. I think, yeah, so we've been able to sort of, because Omar's practice, Omar's way of thinking is, I mean, mine, it's more visual, but Omar's is more like conceptual in a way. He's a more conceptual sort of an artist. So his practice is very much conceptual, I would say. So, so I mean, I was able to also learn a lot from him, like the way he was thinking about his own work, and also um, the ideas he shared with me about my work. So even visually, so I was also like, you know, most of the time I was kind of talking to him and asking whether it's going to work, or whether it should be like this, that. So so it also kind of helped me a lot to install the work. I mean, to do the final production.
Yeah, and I think that what one lacks after coming out of educational settings is constant feedback, right? Because I think that more often than not, we don't necessarily have that kind of feedback or access to other folks who can sort of guide our process or talk to us about what is working and what is not working. And I think that being in residence together was really wonderful also, because I think that there was constant feedback and dialogue and food. And I think that we bonded over food also, because we cooked a lot. And then and I think that if two people are sharing a house by the beach, I mean, what else do you do besides like eat and talk and make work, you know? So I think that I think that a lot of depth, it goes without saying that I think that one is able to hint at depth or arrive at depth and make inquiries deeper and richer when there's conversation involved, right? And I think that that is what we did. We talked so much, and then when you have talked about something for so long, I think then making it becomes fluent, or making becomes fluent, you know. So I think that yeah, at least at Thisath, I'm hoping that was the case for you too. But I think that when I started like actually making work or giving form to the ideas, I think that it came more easily than it would have otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Because we had talked about these things so much. And I also want to give credit to Colomboscope, the Colomboscope team and the residency structure also, because I think a lot of residencies are designed in such a way that you have to produce XYZ amount of work. But I think that these residencies were also just, or at least I think both residencies were, but I think especially our residency was structured in such a way that that we just had to share our process, you know. So there was no pressure to produce like final projects or final visuals, if you may.
Yeah, there was no pressure at all, I think. So we kind of, yeah, so for both of us, also we had a very wonderful time there, and then also it was I think it was very fruitful, um, the time we spent together. So it kind of helped us a lot to develop the work.
I keep tying this in and I keep reverting back to this because I think that this is really, really important. I think that connection and friendships and community is really, really important. I think we became friends during the residency, right? And I think that that is the most central and important part of this entire
Yeah.
entire thing, you know. And I think that that is what is the redeeming part of being human. And I think I'm really invested in. I think we're all really, both of us are really invested in that.
And you both have an engagement in some form with studying that which isn't visible or which isn't evident immediately in a landscape, and this comes through in the questions that you ask around absence, around erasure, and the narratives that are in some way made available to us. So this, and especially since you were on site, this becomes a critical lens, particularly in the context of Sri Lanka's fraught legacies of conflict and violence, but also with regard to its trajectories today. So could you tell us how some or all of this came through in the works that eventually were shared, and what do you think of how history can become often a form of remembrance and forgetting, and how does it sort of get activated in a present like the one that we occupy currently?
I think that my project was also just unfolding on different floors of Rio. It was scattered on a couple of floors where I was showing. So I think that the work was also refusing a continuous single arc, right? It was fragmented by very nature, referencing the process of research or of collecting testimonies. So I think that I was thinking that the point or the whole idea of fragmenting the work was also to kind of refuse like a single narrative centering sort of the Sri Lankan Civil War, because I think that again, I mean, I think that all the information that that I was able to kind of access was also shared with me, right? And I think that whenever something is shared with us, I think that there are many ellipses. So I think that that I don't even hint at. I don't even hint at sort of communicating something in entirety. I think that that is not the project. That is not something that I take on or I make. I don't make such claims at all. Yeah, I think that history has to be called upon in order for it to do something in the world. But I also think that we need to be wary of, or at least I'm wary of, making very concrete claims, right? And I think that in my practice, I think that in our practice also, I think that the ways in which we work with history are also it contends, or it contends with, or that it is able to work with all the ellipses that are present in it, you know, that that I don't think that any hard kind of claims are made. I mean, I think that we we share that which has been made available, you know.
Yeah, actually, like after kind of listening to Omar about his work, like so from the beginning, so I was like kind of let's say I was thinking, so why couldn't I think like that before, right? Because the way he chose these flower beds and flower beds which were kind of the flowers or the plants which were planted in these cemeteries, And so he chose like particular sort of flora, which people usually kind of plant only in these particular sort of places for remembrance. So so it was actually, it was so nice. I mean, like so I was thinking, like, I never thought about it in that way. I never kind of so it was totally new for me. So that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
I mean, and I can also say a few things about Thisath's work. I think that you talk about historical sort of narratives, like not being accessible like entirely, right? And I think that the text on your sculpture, I think that the text is also kind of there and not there. One has to struggle, right? Because it is kind of almost transparent. So you have to stand at a particular angle to be able to kind of read and decipher the text. So I think that there's just in the ways that the sculpture sort of also is made, I think that you have to that it allows us to kind of mull over its surface, to be able to come into and read, to come into more information, or to sort of find out what exactly is happening within the sculpture. So I think I thought that kind of disappearing text sort of really activates like notions of historical amnesia or erasure. And I really liked that.